Okay, welcome everyone. We're getting started not right now. We have 5 more minutes. I'm Carla Burris, also known as Carla the Closer, and today is going to be a good live. Well, rather, this afternoon, evening is going to be a great live because we're going to be talking about how to buy a home in the Bay Area with little and no money down. And I'm a mortgage and real estate broker, so I'm going to break it all down to you. We're going to give people 5 minutes to come in and get started. We are going to start on time on tonight. And I'm going to give you hopefully everything that you need so that you can jump into real estate and do it fully knowledgeable and fully competent. Let's do this. Let me put my phone on do not disturb because you know how that works, right? As soon as you get on do not disturb, that's when soon as you get on live, right? That's when everyone wants to call and have something to say, right? All right, now let me check my volume. We're doing good here on my volume. All right, and then let me put my computer a little up brighter so that I can let there be light. Let there be light. Okay. All right, I'm gonna just minimize my screen here so that I can see my presentation. All right. Okay, so we're getting ready to get started here in about 4 minutes. We want to get started on time so we can get you off on time. I'm going to try to make this presentation. Let's try to keep it under 30 minutes here. How to buy a home in the Bay Area. Isn't that exciting? How to buy a home in the Bay Area. What you need to do to buy a home between no money to 1% down. What does that look like? What does your debt to income look like? If you put your email or if you DM me, I will send you the slides to this presentation along with my contact information so that you can have all the slides, okay? We have a 3 more minute countdown and then we are going to get started. We're going to get started. Awesome. If you watch this video later, let me know what part of the Bay Area that you're joining me from. And then also let me know what are your goals in home ownership, or go ahead and declare it that you're going to be a homeowner. Are you looking to buy your first property? Are you looking to be an investor? Are you looking to buy one property, but your goal is to have multiple properties? What's your plan, friends? What's your plan? Right. I am your real estate strategist. So my job is to kind of partner with you, not kind of, but to partner with you so that you can achieve your goals. So we're working together. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're a couple of minutes early, but you know what they say, the early bird, right? I don't want to say gets the worm, but it's always good to be on time and start on time and respect people's time, right? You guys can catch this on the replay. If you by somehow miss any portion of this, you guys can come back and it will be on my replay. Okay, all right. How to buy a home in the Bay Area. Let's get started. My name is Carla Burris. I am a mortgage and real estate broker. I own a mortgage and a real estate company along with a few other companies, and I have 20 plus years specializing in helping people finance and find real estate. Okay, I have created this live so that I can help my Bay Area people who are waiting on the market to change, or want to buy a house but really don't know what it takes, really don't know what are the steps, or maybe you do know a little bit, right? Because we're in the information age, but now you need like a strategy, right? So I'm going to help give you a strategy today. And you didn't have to leave anywhere to get this strategy. You're right at the comfort of your own home or in your office or on your phone or watching this on the replay. And hopefully this strategy is going to help narrow any cloud that you may have on whether or not you're ready and whether or not you're prepared so that you can purchase a home. Okay. All right. So tonight we're gonna talk about a few different things. Bear with me here because my presentation just just bypassed. There we go. So we're going to move from mortgage to real estate and talk about why is now important, the reality check on the Bay Area. We're going to talk about what are loan options that potentially might fit you. We're going to talk to you. We're going to run through a scenario of an actual purchase of about 550,000 because we're going to use an average purchase price in the Bay Area, which is a little bit on the lower end. But once we talk about this payment, you're going to say that's not lower. That's right about where. That's right about the top, right? We're going to talk a little bit about down payment assistance. We're going to talk about seller credits, different type of loan products, and how you qualify and what debt to income is, and then a little bit about finding and closing your home. Okay. We're going to do a brief overview on this. Here's my disclaimer. I'm a real estate broker and a mortgage broker. I'm not an attorney. The rates that we use here are just for comparison and entertainment purposes, right? So when you talk about your individual situation, you're going to get your own rate, and you're going to have your own credit assessed so that you can make your specific situation. So this is going to be for just kind of give you an overview. But of course, your situation is going to be different. Okay. So let's talk about waiting. Everybody wants to wait for it to be perfect. But let me tell you something. Rates go up and down, prices climb. Buyers who wait pay both. Okay. Now you might say, well, I'm waiting till the rates get better. Well, what does that really mean? Are you waiting so that it's more affordable? Because when the rates go down, the prices go up, right? So what is my advice to you as a mortgage and a real estate broker and somebody who likes to partner to see their clients successful? My advice to you is to buy when you can afford it. If you can afford to purchase a property now, then it's always a good time to buy. It's always a good time to buy if you can afford it. If you can't afford a mortgage payment, then it's not a good time to buy. If you want to pay somebody else's mortgage, then continue to pay somebody else's mortgage. No one is making you buy. But if it's your desire to own real estate and you can afford it, what I mean by afford it, I mean up the payment. A lot of times people can afford the payment, but they don't have the money saved or they don't think their credit is good enough. So they wait. And really, if they would have talked to somebody like me, they're probably more ready than they think. So if you can afford a mortgage payment and you're paying $3,500 for rent, let's figure out how we can get you into a property. Okay. The average rate today, FHA is about 5.38%. Okay. Down payment for a FHA is 3.5%. I'm sorry, I was reading something. We can't do both. We can't read and talk at the same time. We're going to go through the different down payments and requirements. But first, let's talk about the Bay Area and let's talk about the reality of what's going on in the Bay Area, right? Contra Costa, the medium home price right now currently is sitting at about 580,000. Sacramento is about 539,000. Contra Costa County is about 870,000. And Alameda County is, guess what? It's at a nice 1.1 million, right? So these are the medium price homes that you might say, that's crazy. Well, you the one chose to live here in California, or you were born here. And if you're not going to leave California, my recommendation is to figure out a way that you can afford real estate. This live is not going to be talking about how to leverage income and entrepreneurship, which I do talk and teach about. We will talk about that on another day. But the gist of me saying that is, on the low end, Sacramento, you're at 540,000. At the high end, you're Alameda, you're at 1.19. You're in between Contra Costa and Solano County. So this is the reality of what it's going to be to acquire real estate here in the state of California. So we just agree that if we want to buy real estate, we can do it, right? If we can't do it now, we're going to figure out how we can do it, right? So we're going to talk about 4 different loans today. 4 loans, only one loan you're going to need, right? But here's my disclaimer. There's not only 4 loans. There's bank statement loans. There's DSCR loans. For the sake of this video, we're not going to get into complex loans. We're going to be talking about regular Fannie and Freddie loans that are generally used for people who are W-2 employees who receive a paycheck and a salary. If you are a 1099 or if you're self-employed, then you would need to go into a whole different type of loan. We can talk about that offline, or I'll do a separate video. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. That's something that you might like, and I can put that together for you. Does anybody know how much is required for an FHA loan? I said it a little bit earlier. Do you remember what it is? Okay, good, great. I'm talking to myself. It's 3.5% down for an FHA loan. That's your down payment. For conventional, it's 3% if you're a first time home buyer. We know that a first time home buyer is someone who hasn't owned and occupied their primary residence within the last 3 years. So you could have owned an investment property, but if you didn't live in it and you were renting, then you could still be considered a first time home buyer. VA, what can you, depending on your eligibility, VA is 0% down. And then conventional, if you are not a first time home buyer, also can go for 5%. Okay. Now let's talk about a property. I think I mentioned to you earlier that we're going to start and we're going to run numbers because we're going to talk about what does it really look like to buy a house. If I want to buy a house in Solano County, if I was buying a house at 550,000, what does it look like compared to an FHA versus a conventional down payment? And we're excluding the fact that you may or may not be a veteran, right? Okay, so your down payment on an FHA is 3.5%. So at 550,000, you could take notes on this. At $550,000 at 3.5%, you're looking at a $19,250 down payment. And from that amount on a conventional loan, how much is the down payment? It's 3% for first-time home buyers, and that amount will be 16,500. Now, there's a difference in the payments, right? The payment for now, when we talk about payment, I'm talking about principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and mortgage insurance. Anytime you put down less than 20%, mortgage insurance is mandatory on a conventional loan. On an FHA, mortgage insurance is always mandatory. So even if you had a loan where you put down 40%, you're always going to have mortgage insurance on FHA loan. You wouldn't get into an FHA loan if you were coming with 20%, but that's just, you can't get rid of mortgage insurance. You have to refinance out of an FHA loan. Okay, so let's talk about it. Right now, the market is sitting more affordably for an FHA loan. So right now, based on a rate of 5.38% versus a conventional rate of 6.5%, okay, you're talking about a monthly payment of $4,047 or a monthly payment of $4,247. So you're looking at about a $200 difference if you get into a conventional loan versus a FHA loan. Also, the mortgage insurance is going to be a little cheaper on FHA loan, a little bit easier to qualify for. So depending on your situation, you decide which loan would be better for you. If you're coming in with more money down, you would definitely go into a conventional loan. Okay, so let that sit in for a second. Right? You say, well, what does it cost to buy a house here in the Bay Area? Well, if you're talking about a house around 550,000, it's going to cost you about $4,000 to $4,200 a month. Now you might say, that's too much. I'm paying $3,500 in rent. And I can't go up. Well, let's run the numbers on that. If you're paying $3,500 in rent per month, okay, what is that times 12? That's $42,000 a year that you're paying at $3,500 a month. At $42,000 in 5 years, you would have paid $210,000 for rent. Yes, you wouldn't be paying $4,200 a month, but that $210,000, you're never going to see that again. That $210,000 that you've given over to landlords is paying their mortgage down. Right? They're doing what you want to do, right? And so let's look at the difference. Let's say you went from paying $3,500, which was $210,000 in 5 years, okay? And then let's say you decided to purchase a home instead. So let's look at the numbers and let's look at the difference. So let's say you go to pay $4,047, and we times that by 12, which is $52,600, and we times that by 5, you're going to pay $263,000 in 5 years. But guess what, guys? That $263,000 you're not losing. That money is going back into your equity. Okay. So in 5 years, you're very highly likely to have between 200 and over $250,000 in equity, in an equity position in that property that you invested 260. So it's almost like you just put that money into a savings account. Now, let me ask you a question. In all the years that you've been working, in the last 5 years, how much money have you been able to save up living in the Bay Area or living in the state of California? Have you been able to save up $200,000? Right? The answer is no, right? Most people cannot save what they can earn in equity. That's why real estate is such a great tool to invest and keep and build equity. Yes, you're going to pay more a month, and if you can't afford to pay it, then you're not ready to purchase. But the idea is to get ready so that all that money that you're paying, you reinvest it into yourself. And there's so many options of what you can do in a few years with equity. You can sell the house, you can buy another house, you can rent the house out, create the house as a business. You can take some of the equity out and buy your dream home or buy an investment property, help one of your family members or your children purchase a house. So the opportunities are limitless. But first, you need to acquire a piece of property. Okay, right. So we got it. We got $550,000. We're talking about a $4,000 to a $4,200 payment, depending on if you did it FHA or conventional loan. We talked about the down payment, which the difference is about a 0.5% between $16,000 and $19,000 you need for a down payment. Now you might say, I got that, right? But that's not all you have to pay. You have to pay down payment plus you have to pay closing costs. For estimation's sake, we're going to use a 3% closing costs along with the down payment, right? So we're now your closing costs could be 4%, your closing costs could be 2%. It just depends on your situation, the rate, what your credit is. But for this video, okay, we're going to use a 3% down, excuse me, 3% closing cost. So you have 16,500 that you need for your down payment, plus you need another 16,500 for your closing costs, right? But here's where working with the professional makes all the difference, because we can strategize on how to get you down payment assistance for the down payment, and we can strategize to get the seller to pay for your closing costs. If not 100% of your closing costs, the majority of your closing costs. And you might say, well, I don't know, could that happen? It happens all the time. I just closed a transaction not too long ago where the client came in with no money down, and the transaction before that came in with 1%. Okay, so in half of the properties that are selling right now, they are selling with seller concessions, which means seller credit. So what would that look like? So let's say that you did whether you did an FHA or a conventional loan, we got you a My Home loan, which is a Cal HFA loan. Now, Cal HFA does have a Dream for All loan program that offers a 20% shared appreciation. I am not referring to that loan. I'm referring to the 3% product that they have. So let's say that you got the 3% My Home loan, and then we got you seller concessions at 3%. Guess what? You're coming in with no money down. That $36,000 that you may have needed to buy a home could literally be $5,000 to $5,000. The question is, can you afford the payment? Right? So, and I don't know how much it is, but I do know how much it is. Generally speaking, when people have to move and rent a property, they have to pay first, last, and deposit. And oftentimes, if you're talking about $3,500 in rent plus another $3,500 in last month's rent plus another deposit, many people are spending the money that they could use to purchase a home. You have to qualify at 3 times the rent anyway. So if you're qualifying at 3 times the rent, chances are you can qualify to purchase your own home. And with that same money, you can buy your own home. And then you can have $250,000 banked up in 5 years because you're paying your own mortgage. All right. Love it. All right. VA, 0% down payment, 0 mortgage insurance. This is what's beautiful about a veteran. We love our veterans. If you're a veteran, thank you for your service. We give you honor. We appreciate you. The average VA rate today is at 5.9% with a 2% funding fee. So if you're a veteran, then your payment is going to be even cheaper because you're going to not have mortgage insurance. Okay. So, and then you have 0% down payment. And then if we get the seller to pay your closing costs, now you come in with no money. I do this often. So this is this is a very likely situation. We're not talking about impossible situations here. I don't like people to come and tell me what's if the plane falls on you, if you win the lotto. No, we're not talking about impossible situations. We're talking about situations that are very likely and happen more so than none. Okay. All right. So how do we structure? You say, Carla, all right, I have the income. We'll talk about the credit in a minute. You say, okay, well, now how can I do this? Well, we layer your loan with the My Home, for instance, a My Home Cal HFA loan at 3%, plus the seller credit equals 0 money out of your pocket. 5 things you need to qualify. Write these things down. You need your credit. Now, your credit needs to be at least a 580. If you're going to get a My Home loan, you need to be over 640, 660, depending if you qualify for like a Native American loan, but we're not going to go into all the specifics. Okay, so at least a 580, but if you need down payment assistance, we like to see you over 660. If you have your own down payment, okay, I've done loans for people in the low 500s. All right, employment. course, you need to be able to have capacity to pay this mortgage payment, right? You need to have 2 years in the same line of work. You could have 10 jobs within that 2 years. We don't want to see you have 10 jobs within that 2 years, but you could have 10 jobs within that 2 years. We just want it to be in the same profession, right? So you can't go from being um, working in the you can't go from like being a teacher to then being a nurse. It's two different professions, right? But if you go from being an administrative assistant and you stay working in the school district, it's still in the same line of work. We want to marry that history together. So we want to see you have stable history within 2 years. If you started a new job and a new profession, we can still use your schooling. So if you went to school, maybe to become a nurse, we can use your nursing, the school time that you spent getting educated, as also as your work history. Okay, your debt to income. Your debt to income should be now. Again, this is for educational purposes and entertainment purposes. Some people's debt to income can be up to 50%, over 50%, depending on the credit, depending on the loan product. For this video, I would like to see your debt to income between 40 and 45%. Okay, that's a good way. How do you calculate your debt to income ratio? Okay, this is what you do. You take your gross income. Okay, what's your gross income? $10,000 a month. You subtract it. You subtract your monthly credit liabilities. All right. So let's say you have $1,000 a month, and we're just going to average out to make this easy. You make $10,000 a month gross. We know you don't take that home, and you have $1,000 a month because you got a $500 car payment. You got $250 credit card payment. You got another $250 credit card payment. That totals $1,000. We are only calculating the items on your credit: installment loans, credit cards, loans and lines of credit. We're not calculating your PG&E bill, your cell phone bill. Those things that don't are not listed on your credit. So we're only going to count the things that are on your credit report. So now you have a nine. So we subtract your monthly bills from your gross income, right? So you had $10,000. Now we subtract the minimum payments that are reflected on your credit report, which for this sake we're going to use 1,000, which leaves us what? $9,000. Now, if I wanted to factor in of you being no more than 45% of that number, we're just going to times that by 45, and we're going to get 4,050. Right? So this scenario is actually perfect for you. You would qualify for a home of about 550,000 if one of you or two of you gross $10,000 a month and you had a minimum of $1,000 in payments per month. You qualify for around about a $550,000 property, give or take, depending on the property, depending on the rate, depending on, of course, if there's homeowners insurance. Okay. Reserve requirements. Okay, so now we know your credit needs to be a 580. Follow me, guys. You need 2 years on your employment, and your debt to income needs to be between 40 and 45%. For illustrations, we're using 45. Reserves. We would like for you to have 1 to 2 months reserves, but I have closed people who have had no money. Now, it is not recommended that you buy a property with no money. Why is that? Even if we get you into a situation where we get you down payment assistance, or your mom and daddy help you, or you get some type of grant and then the seller pays your closing costs, you know what happens when people move into a house? They want new furniture. They want all of a sudden to change the color of the walls. Things happen. So you want to have at least 1 or 2% of your own money, even if you don't have to use it. You still want to have that money as a cushion, but it's not required. Okay. It's not required. So if you're going to go rent a house and you have to spend $10,000 to rent a house, maybe you spend that $10,000 and try to get into your own home. Okay. All right. And then first time homeowner status, we already talked about what that is. We talked about how to calculate your DTI, what you need to earn at about 550,000, estimating about $132,000 a year. That's about $11,000 a month, but we just ran the numbers at 10,000 if you have about $1,000 a month debt. At 700,000, you're going to need to make upwards of 150, and at 900,000, you're going to need to make upwards of $200,000. Not a month, but if you make that a month, good for you. But $200,000 a year, and that's combined with all income on the application. So if you have 4 adults making $50,000, $60,000, then you would be qualifying over the $900,000 range. Okay, we're not going to talk about loan limits for the sake of this video because we'll get too long. Okay, all right. Next, finding. Thank you, Mr. Ward. Finding the right property. Okay, so the first step is when you're ready to buy a house, we all want to go shopping. We all want to start looking at houses, but I never advise people that when they want to buy homes to go look for homes. Why do I say that? It's good to, to stir up the encouragement in you, but also you really want to talk to a mortgage broker first, and you want to get your pre-approval down because you don't want to be looking at $1 million properties and you qualify for 550,000, because then when you go to the $550,000 house, now you're going to be discouraged, right? So you don't want to play with yourself like that unless you're somebody who can, if I step into $1 million house, I'm like, this is what I want, and then you take me to the house that I can afford. I'm like, take me back, right? So you want to first get your pre-approval letter, talk to your lender or mortgage broker if you're in the Bay Area, if you're in the state of California. I am the person that you should call. And then you want to lock in a payment. Now, payments are going to vary, right? Markets change. The payment that I quoted you today, if you're watching this video a year from now, it's going to be completely different, hopefully better, right? And then you're going to lock in with a real estate agent or real estate broker like myself, and then you're going to go find a property. You're going to offer, you're going to get into negotiations, you're going to do inspections, and then you're going to be a homeowner. Now, I'm going to tell you this. You might say that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot because I'm paraphrasing and I don't have the time to walk you through an entire real estate career, which you don't want to learn real estate. You just want to know how you can buy a property. What I want to encourage you to do, that if it's your desire to purchase real estate, if you have a desire and you can afford it, you should do it. You just need the right plan. I talked about how much money you need to earn. I talked about median prices in the Bay Area. Now the question is, are you ready to take the next step? Okay. So I can't tell you, as a matter of fact, I can tell you, every last call that I've had in the last year, it kind of started off like this. Hey, Carla, I'm I really want to buy a house. I'm thinking about buying a house. And within 1 to 3 weeks, those people were in contract, right? Because those people were more ready than they thought. And they were able to get into a home, different situations. But most of my conversations with my clients start like that. Hey, I'm thinking if I can do this, I can do that. And then they're in a home. So it can happen that fast. It can happen that you can call me and within a few weeks, um, one client, even within 1 week from them calling me, they were in contract. The market right now is heading more towards a buyer's market. Now, if you're watching this video in June of 2026, this is where the market is at. Next year, it could be different. What does a buyer's market mean? That it favors the buyer. That's why half of the properties are closing with the seller paying the buyer money out of the closing so that they can close a transaction. Why? Because look at these payments, right? Because not everybody can afford to buy. So if you can afford to buy, I think you should buy. Some questions that you should ask yourself is your income stable? Now, the reality of it is that we don't know what can happen in the future. But I always say this, you're better off living in your own home if you face a financial disaster than renting somebody else's home, right? So if you may not have a stable job, but if you have a stable profession, you want to know that you can make your mortgage payment. You want to know that you're going to be financially responsible over what you've been blessed with. So as long as you can say yes to those two things, I think you're in a position to be a homeowner. Okay. Well, listen, that is going to be it. Let me see, how long have I been on here? I've been on here 30 minutes. Okay. My name is Carla Burris. Again, I am a mortgage and real estate broker here in Solano County. I work in the entire state of California. I have a passion to help people achieve their desire to own property. Okay, so whether it's your first time looking to buy or whether you're looking to maybe downsize, upsize, I'm here to tell you that you can do it. If you cannot afford to purchase, then we need to talk about how you need to double your income. Okay, if your credit is not where it needs to be, just get it fixed. I have resources for that too. If you reach out to me, I'll go ahead and send you some resources. So that's it. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly. I would love to help you. Be encouraged. California is a beautiful state. It is expensive to live here, but we reap great rewards in real estate here in California. So do not despise living in California. Just rise to the occasion, okay? My name is Carla, again, with Moreno Mortgage Burris Realty. I am known to be Carla the Closer because I close. I am your faith partner in real estate. I am your strategist, and I help you finance and find real estate. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.